Lesley rises nice and early on day 113 and begins making plans for his future. What's next for Fort Margaret? What challenges await him over the next couple of weeks? Let's find out. Hello, Lesley. Lesley begins the day by talking to his new friend, David the gnome. Of course. Nice. Hello, David. Yes. Yes, of course, David, I will. Straight away, David. Then it's off out into the neighbourhood to disassemble doors to acquire knobs and hinges. Yum, yum. He eats every door in every building like some sort of door-loving locust. You got any ketchup in here? Oh, yes, they do. Have a cigarette in the old ruined burger shack, my dear Les? Lesley marks off the areas he's covered and leaves a little note. He is now a man of organisation and careful note-taking. A new kind of Lesley. Evolved. We've been here before, Lesley thinks, as he smashes some more stuff up. Then he jumps back in the truck and heads back to the fort. He survived a very long time and doesn't want to die a sleepy man. Home sweet fort. He begins to make the first modifications to the junkyard, a simple wooden wall near the entrance. Then he realises he doesn't have enough carpentry skill to actually build a gate. This causes a problem now and will cause many problems in the future. Just chuck all the hinges and stuff on the floor, mate. He's up very early on day 114 and eats so much food he feels sick. And I guess some painkillers as well to eliminate the pain of eating too much food, Lesley, you fat bastard. Lesley is a man that can barely control his own impulses and has a very weak stomach. I have no idea how this man is still alive. While he waits for the pain to subside, he reads a book in Rod's humming belly. Then it's back out on an adventure in Riverside, in the world's shittest truck. Wow, this car is extremely unreliable. Come on. Okay, we got used to Rod being an absolute gem. Then Lesley realises how dumb he's been with the new fences. Total idiot. Oops. 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 It's a bit of a tight squeeze, isn't it? We're gonna have to rethink this. Build like an outer layer. Lesley drives to the local bar, he's been here before, and destroys every piece of furniture. Then sits on a lonely chair and remembers the old world. Chin up, Lesley. You're still alive, old boy. Sit on the only chair left. Smoke a cigarette. It's a metaphor for Lesley's life. He's the only man left in the bar being the universe. You poor little thing. Then it's back to the fort for lunch to put up a tent. Lovely, lovely. And a bit of organisation, shifting things from trailer to trailer. As he tries to leave, the fences are once again a total nightmare. You're a genius, Lesley. An engineering marvel. Yeah, we've got to think of a different way of doing this. I feel like my license plate is mocking me right now. Totally defeated, he smashes down the fences he built earlier, then puts up some new ones just outside, the start of the fort's gatehouse. He heads out for literally like 2 hours to clear some buildings, then drives back again. It's been a while since Lesley has lived a stagnant life, and he's not so great at organising his days yet. He'll get there though. Then it's time for sleep. Bowl of cooked beans, Lesley? Better when hot. Day 115 begins with beans. And he's in pain again. Lesley, you are the most infuriating little man. After a painful bean breakfast, it's time to explore again. He jumps in the truck and heads into town. But it is a little busy around here, so let's take out some of the zombies first. This is my town. Lesley picks up a freezer he'll need to keep his fish extra frozen. Revisits the totally empty police station, then smashes a window to get his hands on some ketchup. Yes, really, this guy loves ketchup. You vandal, Lesley. Reach through the smashed window, grab that ketchup. Nice. He kills some more zombies in the general neighbourhood, looks at some buildings, then raids Milk and More, which does in fact have milk inside. Tasty milk. Tasty milk in a can. Special milk. And then he heads back after a successful little day exploring, looting, adventuring. Lesley feels pretty good. On day 116, Lesley continues work on the new gatehouse. His hands are red raw from all this manual labour, and the poor guy is losing weight fast. Lesley prepares a big fat lunch, finishes a bit of work on the wall, then has a cigarette and admires the foundations of his new home. Nice. It's looking good, Lesley. It's looking good. Have a cigarette and admire your handiwork. He rearranges some of the cars in the yard and moves the extra trailer to act as temporary storage. Before he even realises it, it's 7:30 and the day is almost over. Like an idiot, he decides to do some work on the wall in the dark and almost dies in the process. Oh my god. So almost got a bite out of me. That sign to go to bed. Go to bed. Put the planks down. Go to bed, Lesley. A little shaken up, he doesn't go back outside again until the next morning. On day 117, it's more of the same for Les. He finishes most of the work on the outer gatehouse wall, then wanders towards the river to see if he can scavenge for any winter pickings along the river. He runs into a group of zombies, deals with them, and heads back to the fort with almost empty pockets. Lesley did find a single raw potato, which he stands in the middle of the road and eats, because he's a freak. He's hungry now, so let's just eat this raw potato. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. Lovely, delicious raw potato. Scrumptious. Right then. Later on, we try to fatten him up, but if he eats too much, he instantly needs to crap himself, so we try and take it a bit easy with his fragile body. Severe pain. Sorry, Lesley. I'm trying to fatten you up. That's the issue that we're having. On day 118, it's off into town to clear new areas, find delicious loot, and generally see what Riverside has to offer. It's actually a blessing. Draws all the zombies towards me, which is what I was kind of hoping for. It's not that many, is there? Really? This zombie slaughter continues for some hours before Lesley can finally loot the buildings. All he finds is some toothpaste, which he does need because he has a disgusting mouth. But it's all for the satisfying checking of the map that he does it. For the love of those delicate little crosses that mean he is slowly taking control of Riverside. Nice. Little neighbourhood cleared. Lesley heads home for a cheese sandwich, then puts up his new Spiffo sign on the gatehouse. Hello. Now the cheeky little guy, cheeky little squirrel, raccoon, chipmunk, beaver, whatever that little creep is there to welcome you every time. Well, it doesn't look like much. One day this is going to be a bustling metropolis of Lesley. Just one man, living by himself. Just before bed, he starts salvaging the vehicles in the yards for bits of metal, and as the sun sets, Lesley finally puts together his first metal workbench. Civilization is returning to Fort Margaret. Good night, Lesley. Sleep well, my angel. Day 119 is one of the coldest days of the year so far, and winter has well and truly arrived. Thankfully, Lesley is wearing about 48 layers of clothing, so if anything, he's still a bit sweaty. He decides that this freezing day is the ideal time to head into Riverside again and tick off some more satisfying crosses. For the entire day, Lesley kills zombies, loots buildings, and makes cross on the map. He is a simple man of simple pleasures, and he's rather enjoying his new life of semi-stationary living. He drives back to the fort and falls asleep. Perfection. On day 120, Lesley goes into psycho mode. I'm not entirely sure what happens to him here, he just loses it. He seems to have a bone to pick with the lumpy green shits that roam the streets of Riverside. Lesley is going to hack them all to pieces, every single last one of them. Cue the chaos. Lesley then stands in the centre of the absolute bloodshed he's caused and yells his head off into the void. Beautiful. Lesley's first musical number. He walks calmly into the food mart, literally soaked in human filth, and rummages through boxes and shelves to pick up his prizes. There's just a few more zombies in the street, and he needs to take a rest on the sofa in the furniture shop and scoff down a quick tin of tuna. After a few more zombies lay slain in the road, Lesley decides to head home for the day. His swinging arm is sore. He relaxes before bed, then falls asleep, and dreams of blood. On day 121, Lesley's up very early before the sun has risen. Fueled with a new righteous anger, he drives back into Riverside, blade ready. He kills zombies, loots some buildings, marks more of them off the map, and then manages to bite off just a little too much to chew. Rather than deal with the horde, Lesley jumps in the truck and heads back to the fort to grab his gun. Shotgun in hand, Lesley starts blasting zombies to pieces. It's the most fun he's had in weeks. It's so much fun watching the zombies explode into watermelon chunks that he loses concentration. Whether he gets a little sleepy, a little lazy, whatever it is, just watch. Yes, Lesley is scratched by a zombie. Not a bite this time, thank God, but terrifying nonetheless. He even managed to trip over as he tried to escape their bloody fingers. Their revenge for him blowing up so many of their undead mates, he reckons. Lesley is obviously shaken up. The wound from the zombie is a reminder of his mortality, even if it heals just in a couple of hours. For too long, he'd been coddled inside Rod's warm belly. This is the real world, Lesley. Wake up or die. Lesley, understandably, gets totally and utterly wasted. Rather than spend any more time out in the big scary world, Lesley does some work around the base to calm down. He starts by chopping down trees, laying the foundations for a new shack, and generally practicing breathing techniques to calm his shaky nerves. While he works on his humble shack, the helicopter reappears over his head. And now the helicopter is actually a pretty big problem. Lesley can't just drive away. I mean, he could, but he decides not to. He stands and fights in the gateway to Fort Margaret and fends off waves of zombies. He is not afraid. One single zombie scratch isn't going to stop him. This is Lesley goddamn Stump. After another day of intense fighting, protecting his home this time, Lesley lies down on top of his snails and toys and smokes a cigarette. He then falls into a deep sleep, quickly. On day 123, Lesley clears out a few stragglers and then begins to strip down the various zombies in the Gatehouse. The leather, denim and fabric will all come in handy later. Lesley finds the whole thing pretty gross, which says a lot for a man that frequently puts snails on his stomach. Lesley continues work on his humble shack, a new beginning. Zombies keep interrupting his work because he still doesn't have a gate, so he takes a moment to clear the perimeters of the fort. The day passes in a blur. He works all day on day 124, and finally the shack is complete with walls all around. He tidies up a bit of the camp as well. Then he builds a little fire and a chair for sitting on so he can chat with David over the flames. Lastly, he places down a metal shelving unit and the freezer from earlier to add a bit more life and functionality to the growing fort. As the sun sets, he sits in the chair next to the warm fire and thinks about everything. About Rod and his journey across Kentucky, about David and the snails, and he thinks about the zombie getting a scratch out of him. Life is ultimately futile out here, but he will continue surviving for as long as he can, because what else can he do? On day 125, Lesley is back at it. First he builds a bookcase, fills it with books, then feeds David a rotten fish. He's back to his normal squelchy self. Put this rotten fish on the floor. We'll give it to David to eat. Here you go, mate. Some mushrooms for David as well. Gonna lose his mind on those. Careful, mate. They're strong. Strong, strong, strong. Lesley is feeling a bit sad. Not sure how. Look how amazing his life is. Just look where he lives. And so he does a crossword with David the gnome. He's going to do the crossword. He's going to ask David for help when he can't remember words. Lesley hasn't really spoken to anyone for several months. Read until 10 PM, Lesley. Tomorrow we're going back out into town. Today we're going to hook up the generator to the petrol, I think is the idea. No, Lesley, we are not going to hook up the generator to the gas station because you forgot where you put it, you absolute dunce. What have you done with it, Lesley? Is it in here? No, it is not in there. Lesley has lost the generator. Idiot. So, with no generator, we head out into town instead. Maybe we'll find one in the wild. When we arrive in the area to clear out today, we kill the ghost of Michael Jackson and get to work looting and tooting all these buildings. I have to admit, there is nothing interesting here. I will just show you the best bit. The crosses. They were having a party. The end of the world. Oh my, oh my. Hello guys. No. Oh, the spear animation. Okay. That's enough of the spear. That's enough of the spear. After that near miss with the spear animation, Lesley swaps to the axe and clears out more buildings with more satisfying crosses. Then he returns to Fort Margaret with his new prizes. A flamingo, a painting, and David number 2. Lovely. Gunshot outside. A little bit spooky. Maybe that means there's more survivors though. Ugh. What a horrible, horrible day. The weather outside is truly atrocious on day 127. Winter is fully here. It's got no roof on this place. The little house is flooding. Problem is that I can't put a roof until I know how to build stairs. Which is unfortunately quite a way away. When the rain lets up a little, Lesley wants to clear the area just a bit more, so he toots the car's honker and waits for the zombies to turn up. Splashing in the puddles, he does his dirty work. Oh lordy, they coming. So many of them. Calm down for a second and have a cigarette, Lesley. And we'll read for a couple of hours before bed. Day 128 and Lesley is back out into the town. There's very little to see here, but have a look at the map of the area he's cleared so far. Wow, it is absolutely horrible out here, isn't it, Lesley? Let's get home. To Warm Rod. A lovely hug from Warm Rod. Your automated emergency broadcast system. Wonder if Lesley will hear anyone on it. Lesley falls asleep with the radio on and listens for the sound of a human voice. He hopes there's someone else out there. Anyone. The warm crackle of the radio soothes him to sleep, but he doesn't hear a voice. Not even a whisper.